Steak Diane. I usually cook steak simply seasoned with salt and pepper, because quality meat doesn't need much to shine. But last year I tried Steak Diane at a restaurant, and immediately knew I had to recreate it at home. The rich, creamy mushroom and cognac sauce is an incredible upgrade when you're bored with plain beef, and it feels more special. It's also very easy, but your guests or date will never guess. Next time you really want to wow someone, make this Steak Diane recipe with me. 1. What is Steak Diane? Steak Diane is a classic pan-seared steak dish smothered in a cognac cream sauce. Its exact origins are up for debate, but all I know it's absolutely delicious. Restaurants serve it to impress, and now you can too. 2 ingredients and substitutions. 1 steaks. You can make Steak Diane using any quality cut, such as sliced beef tenderloin, New York strip or ribeye steak, but I prefer mine with filet mignon. Not just because it's my favorite cut, but also because this sauce is so rich that you really want smaller steaks. Make sure they are at least 1 inch thick though. 2 beef broth. This is the base of the sauce. I prefer this low-sodium kind, as the sauce is too salty with regular. Bone broth also works. 3 cognac. In our Slavic household, we often have this around. Cognac is the most authentic for Steak Diane, but you can use any type of brandy. Don't worry, the alcohol cooks away. If you still want to avoid it, you can sub extra broth, but the flavor will be quite different. For unsalted butter, I use this to sear the steaks and sauté the aromatics, and it adds wonderful richness. Feel free to use olive oil or avocado oil. 5. Aromatics, shallots and garlic. You can use red or white onions in place of the shallots if you like. 6. Mushrooms. I used white button mushrooms, but cremini or even shiitake mushrooms would also taste great. 7. Worcestershire sauce, for subtle sweetness and umami flavor. I like this gluten-free brand. If you need an alternative, soy sauce or coconut aminos would be the closest, though not quite the same. 8. Dijon mustard. Use a smooth one like this, not whole grain. If all you've got is yellow mustard, I recommend using half the amount, as it's more acidic. 9. Fresh parsley, sea salt, and black pepper. You can also add a sprinkle of crushed red pepper flakes or cayenne for a kick. 10. Heavy cream. Makes the sauce creamy. Full-fat coconut milk will work for a dairy-free option, but I don't recommend any other type of milk because it won't thicken. 3. How to make it. 1. Season and sear the steaks. Pat them dry, then sprinkle both sides with salt and pepper. Heat butter in a large skillet over medium-high heat and sear to your preferred doneness. See my tips below. Remove, cover, and set aside. 2. Sauté the aromatics. Reduce the heat to medium and melt more butter in the pan. Add the shallots and garlic, stirring often, until softened and fragrant. Filet mignon seared in a cast iron skillet. Garlic and shallots sautéed in butter. 3. Cook the mushrooms. Add them to the skillet and cook until soft. 4. Deglaze the pan with cognac. Pour it in and stir, scraping up any browned bits from the bottom of the pan. Let it simmer. 5. Whisk in the beef broth, Worcestershire sauce, and Dijon mustard. Simmer until slightly reduced, then stir in the heavy cream and parsley. Simmer the Steak Diane sauce for a bit longer. Season to your taste. Mushrooms and cognac simmering in the skillet. Broth, Worcestershire sauce, Dijon mustard, cream, and parsley added to the skillet. 6. Bring it all together. Add the steaks back to the skillet and spoon the sauce over them. I like to garnish my Steak Diane with extra parsley, but it's up to you. My recipe tips. If you have time, let the steaks sit at room temperature for 30 minutes before cooking. This isn't required, but they do cook more evenly if you do this. I recommend a cast iron skillet like this. It gets super hot, getting you that golden crust on your steak. Non-stick pans just don't give the same results. For smaller steaks, a 10-inch skillet works, but use a 12-inch one if yours are larger to avoid crowding. The time it takes to reduce the sauce can also depend on the size and material of your pan. Flip the steaks often, rather than just once. I always use this method for my pan-seared steak, more details in my pan-seared filet mignon post, and highly recommend it for faster, more even cooking. Don't squeeze the steaks when flipping. You'll push all the juices out. Use tongs or a turner to flip gently. Use a meat thermometer. You'll often see me suggest a probe in many recipes, but this doesn't work well for stovetop-only recipes that require flipping often. Instead, I use this instant read thermometer. Remove the steaks when they hit an internal temperature of 120 degrees Fahrenheit for rare, 130 degrees Fahrenheit for medium rare, 140 degrees Fahrenheit for medium, 150 degrees Fahrenheit for medium well, or 160 degrees for well done. Can you flambe it? Yes, you can. After deglazing the pan, light the cognac on fire with a long stick lighter, then stand back and wait for the flames to die down before adding the broth. I don't usually do this, because like I said, too much fire for me. Winking face. Remove the steak Diane from the pan promptly. It sure looks pretty in the skillet, but will continue to cook from the residual heat. Transfer it to a platter quickly, along with the sauce, to prevent overcooking.